Arbella Early Edition. It is officially official. The Celtics can offer Jaylen Brown that supermax extension at any moment. Brown becoming eligible at 12:01 a.m. on July 1st. And while we're playing the waiting game, Chris Forsberg thinks the deal should have already been signed, sealed, and delivered.
At what point do we have to say, well, what's going on here? Why isn't this guy done
100%.
yet?
I think it's fair. We'll be sitting here overanalyzing it if it stretches any very long. Now there could be minor details they got to iron out.
But like, what? Give me like a 3 days.
12:02.
Oh, really? That's not that quick.
I'm just, I do think, like, if I'm Brad Stevens and Mike Zarin and these guys, I'd probably be wherever Jaylen is tonight, ready to sit down at 12:01 and be like, we just want to put this in front of you. If you have any concerns, let us know. They've had plenty of time to think about, what this means and what it is.
Well, it is way past 12:02 on July 1st. We have Chris Forsberg, our Celtics insider here. So is the stadium's Jeff Goodman joining us to talk about this. So, Chris, what is the latest? What's going on with Jaylen Brown and the Supermax?
So all I know is that no one seems overly, there's nothing I can tell nefarious. But the longer it stretches on, we're left to just wonder. And that's the hard part, right? We sit here and go, well, what could be the holdup? Like, why aren't they moving? And then you throw in everything else going in around the league with Damian Lillard. And so we're left to speculate. I will say this, Jaylen's agent, Jason Glushon, has been many members of this team, and stuff has typically not emerged until it got to the finish line. I think about Al Horford's extension. I think about even Marcus Smart getting traded last week or 2 weeks ago or however long ago that was. These things don't tend to bubble up because I think they know that the Celtics have played everything very close to the vest. I'm left to assume that there's just little things that need to be talked about. And you know what? Like, sometimes those little things turn into a big deal. But for now, I guess the message has just been, like, patience.
Should we just be patient, Jeff Goodman, or is this cause for concern? Like, do you look at this and think to yourself, well, maybe there's a possibility that they don't get a deal done with Jaylen Brown?
I talked to somebody in the organization. They said that there's really nothing to worry about right now, that it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Again, I would figure Brad Stevens would like to get this done before Summer League really gets going, before his son probably gets going on the AU circuit, kind of get this thing done. The one thing with Brad is he doesn't panic. He doesn't. This is just kind of how he operates. Jaylen knows he's going to get this deal. Brad knows he's going to give it to him. So, again, I don't think there's any crazy rush or concern.
So Jaylen knows he's going to get the deal, but I think one of the things that keeps coming up, Goodman, is whether or not Brown wants the deal. Like, is that something that maybe is part of this? Is he thinking about, does he want to be here long term? Like, where do you think the holdup is? Like, which side does it lie on?
Well, I think he wants the deal because he can get more money here than anywhere else. And in a year, if he's not happy, he could still be dealt. But you're not letting $295 million or $300, whatever the number is, off the table right now if you're Jaylen Brown. So as much as, he may still want to be the number one guy, ultimately right now it's best for him and his financial future to give it another year. Also to see if they can take another step or two and get to the NBA Finals again or win the whole thing with the addition of Porzingis.
So here's a couple things that could be holding it up. One, the Celtics don't have to offer 35%. We've talked a lot about this, right? Like, supermax eligible means you can get anywhere between 30% and 35%. Because the Celtics can offer $100 million more than any other team in the league, there would be some incentive for them to be just at least probe whether they could save some money there to maybe put a better roster around Jaylen and Jason and Porzingis. So I think you got to tread cautiously there because Jaylen didn't get a very big extension off of his rookie deal and would probably want every available penny in this deal. And that's only natural. NBA players aren't taking discounts this time of year, except Kristaps Porzingis, which is kind of weird. And I think the other thing here is there's like option years. So, would the Celtics would love to, if they're going to give him that deal, to have that control. They don't want to give you a player option in that final year. So there's just like little things that I think could be, have to be ironed out. But I go back to it. They've had a lot of time to think about this. We knew that it was going to get to this point. So it is just a little weird to me. All I'm left to wonder is if Brad Stevens and the Celtics just want to ruin my 4th of July every year. Remember Gordon Hayward? I was held up in a hotel in Utah for like 29 hours waiting for that damn deal to happen.
Well,
can I enjoy one 4th of July?
We chuckle all the time because that was the first 4th of July that we decided to stop doing shows on 4th of July because nothing ever happened and no one was ever watching. And then the first year that we did that, Gordon Hayward signed a deal with the Celtics. Well, maybe this, guys, is the reason that there's a little bit of a holdup because the Celtics are apparently interested in Damian Lillard after the Blazers confirmed over the weekend that the 7-time All-Star has asked the team for a trade. The Heat are reportedly Lillard's preferred destination, but Bleacher Report's Chris Haynes says Boston is one of several teams to have contacted Portland about Lillard. In the Celtics' favor, they have a lot to offer the Blazers. Brian Robb from Mass Live put together these packages. First offer could be Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, I know, you'll be okay, Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett, salary filler, 3 future first-round picks and additional swaps. Offer number 2, again, Malcolm Brogdon is in there, Derek White, and 3 future first-round picks. Offer 3 would be a 3-team trade that would send Jaylen Brown to a different destination, but it must be, of course, done before that supermax extension. And guys, I looked at these on Mass Live, and really the only one that piqued my interest, I'm sorry, Chris, a little bit was the first one because Robert Williams is oft injured, and now you have Kristaps Porzingis. So with him and Al Horford, I think that, it kind of gets a little redundant. Malcolm Brogdon, they tried to move before. I, for one, was someone who was like, yeah, go ahead, move Jaylen Brown. It's okay. But the more I think about it, I'm like, man, if you could have Kristaps Porzingis, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Dame Lillard, I know those are a lot of mouths to feed, Forsberg.
Too many.
But is it too many? Is it too many?
There's one basketball. There's only so much talent you can have on and again, long-term finances, everyone's crying about having to play Jaylen $50 million in future seasons. You know how much Damian Lillard makes? Even more than that. So the puzzle doesn't work. Something has to give along the way here. So I don't see that. A couple of takeaways from this, though. I think it does, because people obviously, their antennas go up when they say, oh, the Celtics inquired. If you're a GM and a player of Damian Lillard's stature is on the trade market and you don't call, you should be fired immediately from your job. So you have to at least make the call and see what Portland is looking for, even if it's just to know what might happen around the league to facilitate, and maybe you jump in as a third team in there and try to move Malcolm Brogdon, try to do something where you can be a part of it. The other thing here is that the Celtics do have enough assets at some point that if there is a big move to be made because of their draft picks, because of the salary collection they have, they can get involved for a player of this stature. Again, it has to be the right one. I'm not sure this is the one I would leap to use all my assets, especially not when I've already got 3 high-priced players on the roster. I think it's more for looking down the road when you're like, how do you fill out this roster? Or, if one of these pieces just doesn't fit, and maybe you do have to cross that bridge eventually, but I don't think right now is that moment.
So, Goodman, could the Celtics even get Damian Lillard without giving up Jaylen Brown, or does that just not even make any sense for them?
Yeah, I don't know how it would work. I mean, I don't think they have enough. To me, I know Forsberg's value of Big Rob is a little higher than most here, but I'm not sure Portland, although they have needed a big guy for a long time, they don't need another injured big guy. I think the biggest thing is, again, if you're Boston, would you trade Jaylen Brown? Maybe, but if you're Portland, are you taking Jaylen Brown in return, not knowing, again, if he's going to be there long term? Probably not. So I think that's the hard part right now with Jaylen Brown. Again, is the Celtics are in a tough spot. They almost have to sign him long term, run this out another year, and then he's going to have trade value even in a year with this huge contract.
Is there anything the Celtics could put together? Chris, you did mention that they have really a collection of players and assets that could push them to the top. And it sounds like the Blazers want the best possible scenario for them. They're not just going to ship them off to Miami because Lil wants to go to Miami.
But I think the number one thing that Portland is going to want back is a young player that they can sort of start building around, or at least start kind of like cobbling together their future. And even I, as the president of Rob Williams fan club, cannot tell you that is the base of where you're kind of building towards. Picks are great, but picks aren't great when they're the 28th, 29th, 30th every year. So while the Celtics do have assets to make those deals happen, if I'm Portland sitting there and judging what this would be, I'd much rather send them to a volatile situation where, maybe those picks in 2-4 years out turn into something. There's no roadmap for the Celtics to be less than one of the title contenders moving forward unless things get really weird around here. And so if I'm looking at that, I'm like, there's got to be something better out there.
All right, Goodman. So listen, we're going to just be playing a little fantasy land right now. I know none of us think well, I mean, you two definitely don't think that a deal is ever going to be made for Damian Lillard to come to Boston. But if there could be a deal that was made, would you even want him here, Goodman? Would you want him over Jaylen Brown? Like, in what scenario would you want Dame Lillard, or would you not want him at all?
No, I'd want him. I'd want him because I think, again, he's that guy that can make a play off the bounce. He's that guy that you can give the ball to, and he'll take a lot of pressure off Jason Tatum. Is he a great playmaker, passer? No, but he's capable, I think, with playing with other really good players like Jason Tatum. So if you're asking me, who would I rather have for the next 2 years, Jaylen Brown or Damian Lillard? It's a no-brainer to me. I'd much rather have Damian Lillard.
Wow.
But again, I think it's going to be hard to be able to orchestrate that.
I think the way you even consider it is if Jaylen Brown comes to you and says, like, look, my future is not in Boston, and you are forced to explore the trade route. In that case, you're just looking for the highest possible return. We know the Celtics do have a little bit of void at that point guard spot now with having moved Marcus Smart, with the uncertainty surrounding Malcolm Brogdon. I can see why you would like at least kick it around. The problem is the much better path forward is 6 years of Jaylen Brown over, like, who knows how long Lillard's got left at playing at this elite level. He should be able to score and do this, but we've lived this life with small guards in the past and offensive-minded guards. I think the better path forward is everyone in the league is looking for wings. If there is a roadmap for Jason and Jaylen to guide this thing forward, you take it every time you can.
So you're taking Brown over Lillard. So we have a split decision.
Unless Jaylen forces your hand, in which case, like, you have to, like, explore it. If you know he's just not going to resign here, then that forces the issue. But I just don't foresee that happening.
Okay. All right.
Don't play that clip again, like, in a week or something.
Oh, well, we always cold take exposed here. No. Always. All right. Well, for the latest news on the offseason, check out the Celtics Talk podcast. You can scan the QR code on the screen, or you can find it on your favorite podcasting app or on YouTube. It is presented by 24autogroup.com, 11 locations across New England.